woman in this video. Her name is Mackenzie Shirilla. She is 19 years old. She caused a terrible car accident. This crash took away 2 young lives like hers. Early morning on July 31st, 2022, in the state of Ohio, USA, in a small town called Strongsville, Shirilla was driving her Toyota Camry, carrying her 20-year-old boyfriend and a 19-year-old friend. After passing this intersection, she suddenly accelerated to 100 miles per hour and crashed straight into a building. Shirilla's car, after hitting the building, was completely mangled. It was not until 45 minutes later that passers-by discovered the crash and called police. When officers arrived,
发现希里拉的男友多米尼克·鲁索和他的朋友达维恩·弗纳根已经死亡。
Shirilla was trapped in the driver's seat, unconscious. She was rushed to the hospital immediately. Her body had multiple fractures and internal injuries. Blood test results showed she had alcohol and stimulants in her system. However, doctors said that might have been the very reason she didn't die in pain while unconscious. At first, police could not take her statement because she was still in a coma in intensive care. But when she woke up, she burst into tears. Surprisingly, she told the attending doctor she had deliberately driven at extreme speed to hit the wall because she wanted to kill her boyfriend and intended to die with him. But doctors cautiously believed that it could have been delirium from anesthesia and painkillers, so they did not take it too seriously. However, when police later spoke with Shirilla, she suddenly changed her statement. She said that night, because of alcohol and drugs, along with the strong impact of the crash, she could hardly remember anything. She said she didn't even know that Dominic's friend Davion was also in the car at the time. At this point, it seemed like just an accident. After recovering and being discharged, Shirilla went straight home to rest. But police did not ignore what she told doctors. Right after waking up, they kept checking nearby cameras, looking for witnesses, and questioning their mutual friends. Because 2 very young lives were lost in this horrific crash.
That morning of the accident, she called. I got a phone call that there was a car accident. Okay, so we went to the hospital, and I didn't even know who was in the car. The names had not been confirmed yet, and I'm gonna cry because I missed Dom so much. We loved him so much. So I called Dom, like over and over again, praying that he was gonna answer the phone, and he didn't answer the phone. So then I tried to call his mom, and she didn't answer the phone either. And I still didn't know who was in the car. I didn't even know if she was alive. I didn't know what was happening. So then we were in the waiting room. And then his mom she did call me, so I answered the phone, and I was like, oh my God, like, I don't even know who was in the car. Like, what's happening? Was that Dom? And she said, what do you mean? My son is dead. So in the hospital, that Vitality post, I commented on that because somebody had called her a murderer, okay? And she's not a murderer, because she would never, ever, ever murder the love of her life.
At the trial, Shirilla's mother, Natalie, did everything she could to defend her daughter. That was only natural, but perhaps she still didn't realize the reason her daughter caused this tragedy was the indulgence from her and her husband, John, that they had given Shirilla since childhood. Mackenzie Shirilla was born in August 2004. She was the 3rd child in the family, and also the youngest daughter. She was spoiled and adored by everyone. Her friends said that since childhood she had been moody, demanding, and selfish. Even after making many mistakes, she was always forgiven and covered for by her family. As she grew older, her flaws in character and behavior became clearer. Her temper became more volatile. At times she even got into fights at school. In high school, she began drinking heavily and became involved with drugs. She was also addicted to social media. She frequently posted pictures and videos showing off her rebellious side. In fact, in one video, she even wrote, "I'm not cool at all. I'm just someone who can take a lot of drugs and still not die." Of course, after the incident, Shirilla deleted all her social media accounts, but some people suspected that those words were posted after the crash. Compared to Shirilla's lucky survival, the deaths of her boyfriend Dominic Russo and her friend Davion Flanagan were truly tragic and completely innocent. Dominic Russo was born in 2001. He was the fourth of 7 children. Dominic excelled in school and was very good at sports. He was always the center of attention on every occasion. He studied performing arts in college and dreamed of becoming a famous music producer. He wrote songs and sang, and also had his own job. He bought himself a car and rented a pretty nice apartment. In 2021, at the high school prom, he met Shirilla and quickly fell in love. Shirilla's parents were also pleased with their daughter's choice. They often invited Dominic to family gatherings. They even started planning that when Shirilla turned 18, they would hold a wedding for her and Dominic. But the happiness didn't last. Her volatile temper and unstable moods began to show. This made Dominic uncomfortable. They argued many times, until one day, Dominic couldn't take it anymore and told Shirilla he wanted to pause the relationship. This made Shirilla's unstable nature even more extreme. She threatened Dominic that if he left her, she would kill him. She also threatened Dominic that she would burn his apartment and his car. Every day, she went to Dominic's door, yelling, insulting, and threatening outside his window. She also used many different numbers to harass Dominic with calls. Dominic.
Key my car. I need to break the door.
Key your car if you do not let me in the house.
You're going to key my car
If you don't let me in the house, yes.
She threatened his property? She threatened
Yes.
to break into his house?
Correct.
Did Dominic threaten the defendant?
No.
How would you describe Dominic's tone on these videos?
Very calm,
How would you describe the defendant's tone on these videos?
irate, and angry.
That she would lock Dominic in the car and drive off a cliff together. All of this made Dominic terrified and not knowing what to do. My patient, Shirilla, said at that time, "I want to die." She said killing her boyfriend was her fault. You just said, Shirilla once said. It was all her fault, right?
I did read those words.
So that means you personally heard her say that, correct?
That is correct.
Faced with Dominic's coldness, Shirilla clung to him in vain and gradually resented being treated that way. In her heart, she began to nurture hatred. She wanted to prove through her actions that her harsh words before would come true. Shirilla suddenly changed her approach. She became gentle and asked Dominic to help her choose a college. She began to worry about exams. She said she wanted to move to New York with Dominic to pursue their dreams together. Clearly, Dominic was touched by her change. They started dating again, but Dominic didn't know that it was all part of a plan. Shirilla's plan for revenge. At the same time, their innocent friend Davion Flanagan couldn't have imagined that his life would soon be cut short. Davion was born into an unfortunate family. Both parents were addicts and lost custody of him. He was later adopted and finally had a chance to grow up healthy. He once dreamed of becoming a skilled barber, but tragically, just because that day, he got into Shirilla's car by mistake, that haunting ride became the final journey of his life. Early morning of July 31st, 2022, Shirilla and Dominic, like a normal couple, attended a friend's party. They drank alcohol at the party and used some illegal substances. At around 5 a.m., they left the party. Dominic naturally got into Shirilla's car, but he never expected that was the moment he stepped into Shirilla's death plan. But just before they left, Dominic's friend Davion suddenly showed up and asked for a ride. In fact, at first Shirilla refused. She said she and Dominic had other plans, but Dominic said Davion was his close friend and insisted he get in. The scary thing was, Shirilla didn't refuse, and Davion became the collateral victim of that. After being discharged and returning home, Shirilla quickly returned to a carefree life. She seemed convinced she could escape punishment. She went back on social media, In September 2022, just 2 months after the crash, Shirilla went to a concert of her favorite band. Even though her broken leg had not yet healed, that didn't stop her from putting on heavy makeup and sitting in a wheelchair to attend the show. By October that year, when Shirilla was finally able to stand again, she immediately joined a Halloween festival. At that event, she wore a bizarre costume, behaving as if nothing had ever happened. She even shared that carefree lifestyle all over social media, as if to tell everyone that the old Shirilla was back. On November 4th, 2022, just 5 days after attending the Halloween festival, police suddenly showed up at her house and arrested Shirilla. She was charged with the murder of 2 victims, aggravated assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, and multiple drug-related charges. In the months prior, police had been conducting a thorough investigation, and near the crash site, a business's outdoor camera provided crucial evidence for the case. It showed that before speeding recklessly, Shirilla had been driving normally and lawfully, which indicated she was not in an unconscious state from alcohol or drugs as she had claimed. Police also reviewed traffic cameras from several days before the incident. It was discovered that Shirilla had driven alone on this exact route many times, back and forth repeatedly, even though this was not her usual route. From this, police concluded that Shirilla had prepared to carry out this deadly crash. If there is anything to take away from this heartbreaking case, it is that every decision we make matters. Every action we take matters. The surveillance video clearly showed the defendant's purpose and intent. She chose the path of death and destroying others. Shirilla, oh my God, Exhibit 802 shows the fatal decision the defendant made. From a responsible driver, she turned into true hell on wheels when driving down that street. Mackenzie Shirilla herself decided to drive, chose a road she normally didn't take, a road she had scouted days earlier, a road she should never have chosen. Even if there were speculations that she intended suicide, that still does not change the evidentiary value of the case.
The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates.
Mackenzie Shirilla, in the early morning of July 31st, 2022, acted deliberately. Her target was to kill Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. Hell on wheels. That was how Judge Russo profoundly summarized the case. And the demon in that hell was Shirilla. What's notable is, Shirilla's birthday is August 2nd, 2004, and the crime date was July 31st, 2022, just 3 days before her 18th birthday. Because she was not yet 18, police did not arrest her immediately. They waited until the evidence was complete before bringing her to trial. Prosecutors also argued that Shirilla deliberately chose the day before her 18th birthday to carry out this scheme. She chose the timing, deliberately choosing right before her 18th birthday. She chose to drive herself. She chose the moment to take the wheel. She chose the road through the industrial park, a road she had scouted beforehand. She chose her target and her victims. She chose the method and the way to execute it. She had premeditated this on July 31st, 2022. I am compelled to issue a sentence for her. Shirilla, most likely you will spend the rest of your life in prison. This is not up to me, but largely up to you. I understand the grief that fills this room. Everyone wants me to hand down the heaviest sentence, but I believe that is not appropriate. Because I am certain, Mackenzie Shirilla will not leave prison before 15 years. On August 21st, 2023, the court delivered the final verdict for Shirilla. The prosecution determined that Shirilla committed intentional murder of 2 victims and sentenced her to 2 life sentences. However, since she was under 18 at the time, she could be eligible for parole after serving 15 years. For her second charge, the murder of Davion Flanagan, she was sentenced to 15 years. For her first charge, the murder of Dominic Russo, she was also sentenced to 15 years. The 2 sentences to be served concurrently, including time already spent in custody. All her medical expenses in prison will be covered by the medical board. Any further questions? No, Your Honor. Anything else? No, Your Honor. All right, thank you. Although this outcome cannot bring Dominic and Davion back to life, nor erase their family's pain, 15 years for a girl in her 20s is surely the most precious period of life. The girl who once cried in court will have to spend 15 years in prison to thoroughly reflect on her crimes. I am Chris. Thank you for watching Chris Notes. I will continue to bring cases worth reflecting on and learning from.